Currently, the base layer of Bitcoin can only process up to 7 transactions per second. If the goal of Bitcoin is to be a global system, then this throughput is far too low. If you assume that 100 million people own Bitcoin, then there remain around 7.9 billion people left to onboard. At 7 transactions per second, then it would take nearly 36 years in the best case scenario for all these people to acquire Bitcoin. In this video, we're going to weigh the pros and cons of various solutions that have been proposed to improve Bitcoin scalability. In 2010, Satoshi introduced a 1 megabyte limit on the size of Bitcoin blocks. During this time, 1 megabyte of data was much more significant than it is today, with hard drives costing roughly 10x more back then. Nevertheless, it was introduced with the intention of preventing denial of service attacks. Without this limit, it would have been possible for spammers to flood this network with transactions, leading to massive blocks and overwhelming the network's nodes. Ever since the 2017 upgrade, Bitcoin has had a theoretical maximum block size of 4 megabytes. However, this is still seen by many as too small. Now let's weigh the pros and cons of increasing the block size. Raising the block size increases the network's capacity for transactions, lowering transaction fees. Raising the block size is easy to implement. In theory, it is as simple as changing the value of a variable in the source code. By increasing the throughput of the base layer, secondary layers are able to settle transactions much easier. In order to run a node through Bitcoin Core, you need to download the entire blockchain. Currently, the blockchain is estimated to be around 685 gigabytes, which is incredibly resource intensive, and increasing the block size would make it even more difficult to run a node. This could prevent ordinary people from running nodes and lead to centralization. Bitcoin aims to have a new block produced every 10 minutes. Ethereum, by comparison, aims to have a new block produced every 12 seconds. By having a longer block time, Bitcoin is able to have much more network stability by giving nodes plenty of time to communicate with each other. However, this comes at the expense of throughput and transaction confirmation time. By decreasing the interval at which blocks are produced, transactions can be included in blocks and validated more quickly. Shortened block intervals means users don't have to wait as long for their transactions to be processed, which improves Bitcoin's usability. Shortened block intervals also improves the accuracy of transaction fees, as the network can respond to changes in demand much quicker. Miners receive block rewards more often, providing a steadier income. Decreasing block intervals means nodes have to validate blocks more frequently, which again increases the cost of running a node. Shorter block times increases the likelihood of chain splits by impacting node communication. A chain split occurs when two miners produce valid blocks at roughly the same time, creating competing versions of the blockchain. Over time, the longest chain is the one that is adopted. Credit card networks like Visa and MasterCard are effectively Layer 2 systems on top of banking infrastructure. They process transactions internally, reducing stress on the main banking ledger, and then settle the net amounts with banks every couple of days. Using secondary layers such as the Lightning Network, you can open a payment channel with another person and send many transactions back and forth, then settle the final balance on the Bitcoin blockchain, recording only the net result. In theory, two people could transact millions of times onto a secondary layer, with only one transaction being recorded on the Bitcoin blockchain, which goes to show how much secondary layers can reduce base layer congestion. In general, secondary layers can handle many more transactions per second than the base layer, with lower fees and faster confirmation times. Secondary layers reduce congestion on the base layer. Because of the reduced cost of transacting on secondary layers, micropayments are actually possible. Secondary layers are still highly dependent on the base layer. Secondary layers are not as transparent as base layers. This video merely scratches the surface of the topic of Bitcoin scaling, so feel free to leave your questions or insights in the comments below.